Alright, so today I am working on skinning out a bluegill. It's one of my most hated fish that I hate doing. We have a 9.5 inch red ear here, and what I've done so far with it is I've used my uh, whiz nips, and I've cut straight across, right down the middle, up into the collarbone. You're gonna go up around the gills on both sides, all the way down through the throat, and then I've already started skinning this. But the first tool you're gonna need is one of these skinning knives. You can get them through Matuska, Mackenzie. They might even have them on Amazon. I'm not sure. You basically just push down on the opposite side that you're going to be skinning, and very lightly and carefully just work your way down. You're going to work your way up and around the head area you want to get into. You also want to get up towards that pectoral fin, and then all the way back to the tail. Bluegills, sometimes what I'll do is I will cut around the base of this tail to help lift the skin, so it just helps prevent losing scales. So now you're going to watch me do the other side. So as you can see, I'm going to push down on here and just very lightly work my way back. Not to try to slip out. You go very slow. You don't want to pop any scales free either if you can avoid that. Bluegills, unfortunately, bluegills and crappies, you'll lose a ton of scales. And you just kind of slowly but surely work your way to the back. I found that, like with crappies, I'll do the Elmer's glue method to help hold the skin in place, or to help hold the scales in place. Seems to work a lot better. I truly despise doing skin mount crappies, honestly. I tell everybody, you can't even sneeze in the same room as a crappie without losing scales. So once you get to a certain point, you can start to lift up. Just don't torque on it, because if you torque on it, you're going to pop scales free. And all I'm doing is just working my way down to the base of the tail, or base of the fins here. You'll know when you get there, because you'll feel it. It'll be like a washboard that you'll run into. And then I'm going to work my way to the front. One thing I did with this is I did soak it in some borax to kind of help. I don't know if it works 100%, but it seems to be helping quite a bit, actually. I think it tightened up the skin a little bit more. Alright, so I got this side skinned out all the way to the fins. I got this side skinned out all the way to the fins. I've already cut free I used my snips and I reached up into the back of the skull and I cut that free. So now I got to do the same thing on the throat. So I'm going to come at an angle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you here. Take these just below, and kind of where that red, real delicate soft skin is, I'm going to cut right up through there. You can feel that chunking, clunking sound is me cutting through that fin. Now there's a little bit of a bone that holds the throat together. You're going to have to cut that, but what I like to do is I like to free up all this first. So as you can see, I'm cutting through the bones here, and I'm cutting up into the throat region on the fish. A lot of times with bluegills, I'll just cut through this little. Let's see if I can show you. Cut through this right here. That seems to help a little bit when you're mounting it, but if you can avoid that, by all means do it. It just helps me a little bit more. Plus I got big hands, so it's really hard for me to deal with these little things. Skin mount bluegills are quite difficult. They're better than crappies though. Crappies are just, I hate crappies. Alright, so I basically have cut this entire side free. So now I have to get these fins popped loose. So I'm going to start, so what I'm going to do is, like I had said before, I'm going to cut right where the scales end and meet the tail. I'm going to cut straight across on both sides. I find it helps me, and it's a non-show side, so you can easily cover that up and fix it later. It just relieves a little tension on the skin. So what I'm talking, you can see what I did right there is right where that the scales end, is I cut straight across there on both sides. Now we have to get that tail free. So very carefully put your finger on the back side to make sure you don't poke through, because it's very easy to do, and just work your way around the base of that tail. Now you want to be careful not to wrench on these things because they drop scales so easy. And just take your time. So all I'm doing is I just cut through the bone and I'm going to work my way around. And making sure that I'm not poking through on the other side with my fingers, because I don't want to ruin that non-show side. I can fix it if I have to, but if I don't have to, that's better. Another thing you can do too is to help it get going is just very lightly across with as flat as possible, cut back towards the belly region. I'd say about an inch on a bluegill. Some with walleyes and bass you can go a lot further. So now I have to cut this fin free. So I'm going to start right at the back, right where with my snips. I'm going to just work my way to the front, and you'll know when you start hitting the fin rays, because you'll start hearing them cut like a fingernail clippers. And all I'm doing is, without poking through the other side, I'm just working my way around that. I've poked through so many times. That's just an extra repair that you have to do. So if I can avoid having to do that, I would really much like to do that. If there is any fish in particular you guys would like to see me do, I mean, I guess I could do a video on a crappie. I have one in the freezer I gotta do for a customer. Like I said, I absolutely hate doing crappies though. They are a nightmare. And you just carefully, don't wrench on the skin, whatever you do. The minute you start wrenching on stuff, that's when you start making mistakes and breaking and dropping scales. Just take your time. If you have to change angles, change angles. I think I just cut that free. So now bluegills, they got this bone that kind of runs along their back towards their head. A lot of fish actually have that. So that you also have to cut out too. So I've gotten up to right about here on the fish. So I'm going to start on the other side, getting these fins all cut free, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way around the fish, skinning it, so I get up to that point and it's easier for me to access the rest of that area that I need to cut free. Another thing you can do too is try to, I'm going the opposite direction, but if you can go the same direction as the scales, like from head to toe or head to tail, that's a good thing too. You'll find that in the belly region it gets a little thin, so just be careful. Another thing you want to do is lift up on your fins without pulling too hard, because you'll end up like these ones are already fanned out, or flagged out, but you don't want to flag them. And what that means is you don't want the fins to get split. I'm trying to get as close to the skin as possible when I do this, because it saves me from having to do a lot of cleaning afterwards, but you're still going to have to clean it. And what you do is, I guess I shouldn't say cleaning, I should say scraping. You'll have to scrape it. And I just broke through. Actually, no, I didn't. I just cut. So what I just did is I cut the anus free just now. I guess I did kind of cut through a little bit, but that's a spot that I always fill in with epoxy sculpt anyway, so I'm not too worried. So now I'm going to work my way to the front. Just be careful, you know, always try to keep your hands on the other side so you can kind of feel where you're going, and don't wrench on it. You don't want to pull scales off by mistake. You have to, with these type of fish like bluegills and crappies, if you have to leave a little extra meat on it, that's fine, because you're going to scrape it later. I'm going to probably leave a little extra on this one, just to prevent myself from damaging it too much. Alright, so there, we are almost free. And all I'm doing is just as tight to the skin as possible, scraping away. If you don't have one of them skinning knives, I would highly recommend investing in one. They do go dull, so they have to sharpen it every once in a while. But they're like super cheap too, so if you just want to replace it with a new one, you can do that too. As you can see, the skin on the throat region is free. That's fine. I have to rebuild that all anyways. Try not to tear it, but it happens. It is what it is. So now I've basically skinned it pretty much all the way around to the tricky spots up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside and I'm going to find out where the spine is. So the spine is just above the throat region. So just, I would say on a bluegill, it's about inch below the top of the head. So you're going to cut through that spine to free that up. And I always like to go inwards at an angle, and that helps me to free up some of the skull cavity where the brain is, because you got to clean that out of there too. So I just cut through the spine, and then I'm going to cut this whole side free. So that's done, that's done. I'm going to cut my throat free. That's that little bone that I was telling you about. I don't know if I can do this without tearing through. What I mean by tearing is that skin in the throat region is super thin, and it tears super easy. So I'm trying to do that without trying to get it free without tearing the skin too much. Now, without trying to wrench on it too much, I'm just going to work my way with my skinning knife up to the head again. You can do this without even wrenching on the skin. You can kind of see your knife working its way up underneath the scales. Try, as you can see, I'm being very careful on this side because this is my show side, so I don't want to wrench any or lose any scales on this side if I can, or poke any holes in. I should have this just about free here pretty quick. That fin on this side you got to cut free. Check done. And you don't want to tear through that real thin skin on this side, because that's otherwise you got a lot more work ahead of you trying to sculpt that back in. And on a bluegill, there's not much room there. Alright, now I'm going to cut through this side and free that all up. So that should be done. This is done. I've basically gotten it cut apart to the point that I should be able to just tear it free. And I think that's what I'm going to do. See, I got a little bit up there I gotta take care of. So what I'm doing now is I can get my fingers and I can push that skin upwards. So I just freed it all up from the head up there. I know it's hard to see, and my hands are all full of gunk now, and I would bring you guys in closer so you can see this. But, ooh, this thing had a big old hook in him. There you go. So, you're going to have to cut the throat free. I'll show you what that looks like. Alright. Alright, so what I've done is I've cut all the way up into the skull cavity. The brain is right up in there. I'm going to have to clean that out quite a bit more. I got to scrape all this free. But, and then I've cut the bottom of this, the throat free. I've pulled it all away. And here is the esophagus of the fish. So what I like to do is I like to leave myself a little room, and I will trim that back. So I'll give myself probably about 1.5 inches, and then I'll cut straight across, and then that will free up that whole fillet in there. now. There we go. I have some work to do on the throat region of this bluegill, but not too horrible. And as you can see, it comes out in one big chunk. So now what I'll do is I'll take my fish scraper and, to be honest with you, if you go and buy these from the taxidermy supplier, you're spending way too much money. All this is a clay sculpting tool. You can get them at Michael's, you can get them at Hobby Lobby. That's all you need. I got these in a 5-pack, and I think I paid $6 maybe. So save yourself money when you can, because the more money you spend on materials and supplies, the more you're taking away from your profits. And fish work, you'll find there's not much profit in it, because the amount of labor, especially in skin mounts, the amount of labor you put into them is nuts. You can do like a commercial style taxidermy where you just kind of, put a whole lot of detail into them. I don't. I put a lot of detail in them. I scale tip everything. So for the amount of time it takes me, and for how difficult they are to work with, bluegills, there's not a whole lot of profit there. So I've been really considering doing only replicas for bluegills. Alright, so I've skinned it out, I cleaned it out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my snips and any extra bone, skin, I'm going to trim that off right now. Or I shouldn't say skin, but meat. You want to make sure that you get these really clean, because if you don't, there's going to be an issue with shrinkage and bugs and grease. And you don't want that. And then what I will do is, after I get these pretty cleaned up, I put them in a 1-to-1 ratio of what is it? Denatured alcohol and water. And I will keep them in there for a few hours, and then that tightens up the skin quite a bit. So you just want to make sure you test fit your form. You might have to do a little shaving, but if you soak them, if you soak them in that, it preserves the skin. I found that it also dries lighter, which is nice. Makes it easier to see what you're doing when you're done. Oh yeah, that's gonna fit really nice. So, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. You gotta take out the eye and the try to clean out the cheeks too. So I use these little tools. You can get them from Mackenzie. Matuska has a nice set. I would use those ones. Highly recommend them. And I just get in there and I scoop out the eye. You get to a certain point, you can pull it out. I did that kind of fast, so I'll try to show you. So you just go in and you work your way around. You get it popped out, and then you just pull it out. This is also a cheeking tool, so you can go in and clean out the cheek meat. Bluegills, they don't have much, but if you don't get that out, it's going to shrink, and you're going to have a really, really rough looking cheek. You're going to have to rebuild it. Probably get a little bit of grease in there as well. And a lot of times, a lot of people that I've talked to so far have complained that there was grease forming underneath the mouth region of their fish mounts. This is from work that I haven't done, but and a lot of times it's because of that reason right there, is they don't get all the cheek meat out. So you want to make sure you clean that out as much as possible. So I'm just using this, and I'm just in there scraping away. You can poke through like I did on the back of the cheek. No big deal, you can fix that. So this side, the show side, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. And all I'm doing is just trying to get that meat out of there. Bluegills and crappies, you ain't going to get a whole lot out of it. Walleyes, on the other hand, and bass, yeah, you'll probably get a lot. Walleyes especially. I got big old puffy cheeks. Alright, so that's all done. I'll put it in my rinse and then into my fish tan. Easy enough. I will try to show you the mounting process after, but for now, I got to get that in the fish tan, and I got to go get my little ones. So have a good one. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps, and I'll catch you on the flip side.